What's up, everyone? This is Christian Duke from StrengthAddicts.com, brought to you courtesy of IronMagLabs.com, your go-to source for all your bodybuilding and fitness supplements. Kevin Gretsch, thank you so much for the hookup, my brother. You know everything before it happens. I don't know how, but from Dallas McCarver on his official page, quote, "So I wasn't going to do this because, frankly, he will benefit way more his name in my mouth than I ever would the other way around. I've got so many questions regarding Shawn Ray and his recent hard-on for quote-unquote critiquing me, as he would call it. So I'm going to break down a few really clear and simple reasons why this guy can't seem to leave me alone. Number one, he's clearly struggling with the fact that he's completely irrelevant in the fitness and bodybuilding world. He needs something, anything, to draw attention to himself, and I'm just the most recent topic for him to give his 2 cents on. That could be because if you go by Dave Palumbo's story, you know, him dragging the 212, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about that. Number two, if you follow Ray or know him in any way, you'll likely, quote-unquote, caps, rarely ever him compliment anyone, especially a big white bodybuilder. This is clearly a result from years of consistent ass whoopings from the great Dorian Yates. He complained and moaned his entire career about these beatdowns and clearly is still very butthurt about it. 3. Shawn also took years of ass whoopings from Chad Nichols' clients, which he also moaned about for the majority of his career. Again, still, caps, clearly butthurt about that too. 4. As anyone knows, he was born with a silver spoon in his mouth to a well-off family and has had a relatively easy life. As we in the real world call this silver spoon syndrome, this is an extremely internal insecurity that stems from years of being outperformed and outdone by those who started with significantly less than him. In the mind of these people, they cannot conceive that they simply being outworked, or simply aren't good enough. That's because their entire life they've grown up entitled and pampered. Thus, often things don't go their way. They are forced to accept failure, which is a huge part of life to most of us normal folks. This causes the individual, in his case Shawn, to develop a horrible inner insecurity that can only be satisfied in their mind by putting others down. We all know these people. It's just a sad part of life we live in. 5. Shawn used to be a great bodybuilder, but he never got what he wanted, the O. Now he's forced to live in a fading body that is no longer capable of fulfilling his dreams. This greatly increases the previous points 2 to 4. 6. Shawn didn't grow up in the real world where you can't run your mouth consequence-free. Where I come from, based one-sided reporting, as in his case, this case, and many others, I have seen him give his 2 cents on would earn you a good old concrete facial. While I do believe Shawn Ray needs a good beatdown as much as anyone I've ever met, this is not a threat, okay? Another great example of all the insecurity is calling out one of the greatest to ever do it from the stage Saturday, talking smack to the great Dexter Jackson in eye front of an entire crowd of people. Totally uncalled for and just another insecure, desperate attempt to remain relevant and important in an industry slowly forgetting him and pushing him out. In conclusion, until the recently twisting of my current situation, words, and misfortunes, I've never had an issue with Shawn. I idolized Shawn, looked up to him greatly. But sadly, that time has passed. Now I simply see a bitter old man, despised by an industry. Well, he is actually disliked by a lot of people. But anyways, I'll get back to it. Despised by an industry which he once was loved by. I don't think he was ever loved by anybody. But anyways, let me keep going. I'm sorry. Now, even bother to get a full story. He also didn't bother to report the fact that my situation was greatly improved at the Arnold. Words straight out of the head judge and Mr. Manning's mouth. As for our conversation backstage previous to the Arnold AU, it was also twisted as to only be negative and bitter, as his apparent style of quote-unquote reporting. Then there's a comments made regarding Chad and my unfortunate events on stage Saturday. Now, unless Chad had a machine to give me bronchitis, damn near pneumonia, I don't see how it's his fault or my fault for that matter. The only thing either of us did wrong was allow me to compete in a condition too sick for stage. It was nothing more than the fluid in my lungs depriving the brain of oxygen. We all know the results of a brain and body without oxygen, so let's be smart here. All that being said, if Shawn Ray wants to be a reporter of the industry, he needs to learn to swallow his pride and ego and report the facts, caps, all of them. Not the facts that he finds convenient, mending his insecurities and bitterness stemming to a career long gone. I hate to be this way, guys, but enough is enough. We as an industry pride ourselves on not being judgmental and bullies. So I've had about enough of this one-sided quote-unquote reporting. At the end of the day, he can bash me, dog me, quote-unquote critique and report me all he wants, but he ain't gonna steal my shine. I'm internally happy and love my life. Something he's clearly missing. Hashtag outgrow your ego.